Hare Krishna, welcome to this episode of Chaitanya Charitamrita. Today we will be studying the second chapter of the Madhya Lila of Chaitanya Charitamrita, which summarizes the entire Antya Lila pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which include his uncommon transcendental madness. Alright? Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjalashtanakaya Chakshurunmelitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sujivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute तप्त कांचन गौरांगे राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So today we will be studying Madhya Lila chapter 2. Let's see how much we can finish. So Madhya Lila chapter 2, the ecstatic manifestations of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Summary. These summaries of these chapters of Chaitanya Charitamrita, all chapters, come from the summaries of the Amrita Pravaha Bhashya of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. So, reading chapter 2 of Madhya Lila, summary. In the second chapter of the Madhya Lila, the author describes the pastimes the author describes the pastimes the Lord performed during the last 12 years of his life. Thus, he has also described some of the pastimes of the Antya Lila. Why he has done so is very difficult for an ordinary person to understand. And why is it difficult for an ordinary person to understand why he has written? You would think, oh, that's why is it so difficult to understand? He's writing about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so what is so difficult? The reason is because these kinds of madness in ecstasy is only touched upon superficially to an extent by Shukadeva Goswami, who is the Guru Muninam, who is the greatest sage or the Guru or the spiritual master of this, all the stalwart sages of the universe. So even Shukadeva Goswami only slightly touched it. In fact, he did not even mention the name Radha. He mentioned only her name indirectly in the 10th canto. So, particularly her name, and of course, her Uddhava Gita is there, and the Gopi Gita is there. But then, he did not go too much into detail. Even in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is considered the cream of all the Vedas, even there, Srimati Radharani is kind of hidden. Whereas in the Chaitanya Mahaprabhu avatar of Krishna, he manifested these moods, and we know that Radha Bhava Dyuti Suvalitam Naumi Krishna Swarupam. Radha Bhava Dyuti Suvalitam. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came with the complexion, the golden complexion of Srimati Radharani and her transcendental mood of madness and love of Krishna. And in the early pastimes and the middle pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's life, he displayed external behavior, and also when he external behavior in the sense, of course, he uh, conducted himself upon religious principles, but those which could be deciphered by people in general to an extent. And when they did not decipher, when they were not able to decipher, for example, after taking sannyas, he started chanting and dancing, and many Mayavadi scholars, they could not understand how come this sannyasi is dancing like a sentimentalist. He should have, given up all these kinds of sentiments and taken to the study of Vedanta, but he prematurely took to the sannyas ashram at 24 years old when he was not ready yet, and now you see he is bringing upon condemnation upon the sannyas ashram on the whole. So that was the accusation. They could not understand him, and when they could not, he actually explained to them the whole philosophy of Vedanta and why this chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra is the topmost fruition of all knowledge. But his later pastimes, especially his Antilila, and the last 12 years of his manifest Leela on this planet in Jagannath Puri, was spent in utter madness. And we will see some of those symptoms. Uncommon. It will, we can't even imagine how the Lord, how one can have such symptoms. And these symptoms are not possible for anyone except for Srimati Radharani. Even the gopis cannot have this kind of feelings. Only, so this is called Mahabhava. So we know Bhava, before Prema there is Bhava stage. But in Prema also the Bhava is there, of course, in its highest degree. But then Mahabhava is the expression of transcendental feeling that is only found in two personalities, Srimati Radharani and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And we will read about that in this chapter. So he displayed those symptoms in this Antilila, but those are very confidential, extremely confidential. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, I'll tell you, Arjuna, the most confidential thing. In a way, that was a transcendental lie because the most confidential is actually the dealings between Radha and Krishna, and the Vipralambha Bhava, the most confidential of all rasas. But to the layman, to the common man, that would have been the most confidential instruction of Bhagavad Gita, which is to surrender utterly to Krishna. Sarvadharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshayishyami ma sucha. Surrender unto me, give up all other religious systems, just surrender unto me. I will take care of all your sinful reactions and I'll give you liberation. Do not fear. So this was his assurance, and this is considered the most confidential knowledge in the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, starts from that point. Dharma Projhita Kaitavotra. So in the Bhagavatam, all cheating religions, which are materially motivated religions, which was what Sri Krishna was referring to in the Bhagavad Gita when he said Sarva Dharman Parityajya. When he said Sarva Dharman, that is to be taken to mean Sarva Kaitava Dharman Parityajya. Cheating religion. Because why would he say Sarva Dharman? All other religious systems, like Mamekam Sharanam Vraja, surrender to me alone, that is actually the prime religious principle. That is the real religious principle. So, other than that, everything give up. That's what he meant. So, Sarva Dharman Parityajya is actually Sarva Kaitava Dharman Parityajya. Mamekam Sharanam Vraja. So, Bhagavatam says, Dharma Pra-ujhita. Ujhita means ejected, kicked out. Kicked out from the Bhagavatam are all cheating religious systems. That does not mean cheating religion is not discussed in the Srimad Bhagavatam. It is discussed so that we know what cheating religion is, so that we can stay away from it and point out to it when it appears, so that we can stay on track. Um, but it's not advocated in any way. But if you see the Vedas, you can actually see this in the first canto, 5th chapter, when Narad Muni actually chastises Vyasadeva for writing the Vedic literature, and not yet at that time, Srimad Bhagavatam. He chastises Vyasadeva. Why did you write all these things? You are materially motivating them and in that way inducing them to follow some religious principles. Why are you doing that? Because religious principles, the ultimate aim is not that. You're cheating them. You're misleading them. Right now, now you write the Srimad Bhagavatam, a scripture which is fully only describing the pastimes of the Lord. That would be the highest scripture. And you know all these things. You have seen all these things. So please do that. Get to the task immediately. Write that Bhagavatam. So even in that Bhagavatam, the most confidential, all cheating religions are kicked out. So it is only dealing with the most confidential instruction of Krishna, which is Sarva Dharman Parityajya. And then it ends, the last verse of Srimad Bhagavatam is Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam. This is the beautiful connection between Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam and Caitanya Charitamrita. So you see, this is the very, very last verse of Srimad Bhagavatam. Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranamo Dukkha Shamanastam Namami Harim Param. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Lord Hari, the congregational chanting of whose holy names destroys all sinful reactions, and the offering of obeisances unto whom relieves all material suffering. So the congregational chanting of Krishna's holy names is where Bhagavatam leaves us at. And that's exactly where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita picks up and goes further. So this is like the baton, the relay race where they pass the baton. It's like that. The baton of religious principles are passed from Bhagavad Gita to Srimad Bhagavatam, and Bhagavatam passes it to Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, where it sees its limit. So it reaches the finish line in this Chaitanya Charitamrita, and the finish line is this madness of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which is so confidential that even Shukadeva Goswami did not mention it. If he would have mentioned it, his chanting of Bhagavatam would have stopped because of his ecstasy, and therefore he did not mention it. And it is so confidential that ordinary people cannot understand this. And yet, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited that, and therefore that is the reason why it is explained here that why he has done so. That means why Krishnadas Kaviraj has written this Antilila, this madness pastimes, mad pastimes of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, is very difficult for an ordinary person to understand. Because even a devotee, an authorized devotee, I'm telling about, an authorized devotee of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would not discuss these things with the common man. But he put it out in this book for all people to read, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. So why would he do that? Like for example, Srila Prabhupada asked us not to, sing the songs of Geet Govinda of Jayadeva Goswami. The reason being, we are not advanced to that level where we can actually relish and appreciate Geet Govinda. We are not on that level. So we should not be too eager to read those pastimes. And when in that stage, if you read, you may develop unholy desires because we are not purified. So it's because it's that confidential. Even authorized devotees, what to speak? Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur asked his disciples to not go near personalities like Vamsidas Babaji and Gaur Kishore Das Babaji. Gaur Kishore Das Babaji wasn't at the time there. Especially Vamsidas Babaji and other such, I think God Kishore Das Babaji. He asked his disciples not to go to them. Why? Because his disciples were still neophytes, or even if they are Madhyamadikari, second class devotees, even then they would not be able to appreciate or understand the activities of personalities like Vamsidas Babaji, who was so transcendently mad that he would sometimes do things which are bewildering even to authorized devotees. So Subal Prabhu is saying, when bhava ecstasy is intensified, it is called Mahabhava. The symptoms of Mahabhava are visible only in the bodies of eternal associates like the gopis. Here Prabhupada says gopi. Well, in other places he mentioned that only Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I mean, to an extent, of course, the gopis have it, but nobody has it to the extent that Srimati Radharani has it. Uh, why would Chaitanya Mahaprabhu particularly take the complexion and mood of Srimati Radharani? Why is she the chief gopi? So it's all a gradation. Okay, so the gopis have higher devotion. I mean, higher rasa than even the queens of Dwarka, definitely. And even among them, the Priyanarma Sakhis, there is a whole gradation among even the gopis. And the Priyanarma Sakhis, their ecstasy is also so high, it's very close to Mahabhava. They can be generally called as Mahabhava, which is why Prabhupada would have mentioned that. But still, the mood that Srimati Radharani has, not even the other gopis have, not even the closest ones, Lalita and Vishakha, Chandravali and the other 8 gopis, none of them can even come um, to the Srimati Radharani stage. And that is why even in Raslila, he went away with Radharani, Krishna. She's so, and that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he wanted to taste the love that Radharani has for Krishna, which is the limit of Mahabhava. And that only 2 persons exhibit, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srimati Radharani. Now, so reading on, why he has done so is very difficult for an ordinary person to understand. The author expects that reading the pastimes of the Lord will gradually help a person awaken his dormant love of Krishna. Now, having said this, the reason actually will be given why he actually compiled this. Actually, this Chaitanya Charitamrita was compiled by the author during very old age. Fearing he might not be able to finish the book, he has included a synopsis of the Antilila here in the 2nd chapter. This was one of the reasons why he mentioned here in the Madhya Lila itself, 2nd chapter, fearing that he would not complete. Just like Srila Prabhupada, was fearing that he would not be able to complete Srimad Bhagavatam, which is why he gave the Krishna book, and just in case he did not finish. And it happened so that he did not finish. But we still have the Krishna book, which is the summary study of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which is Dashama, what is that? Mukha Prapullam, the smiling face of the Lord. Dashama Prapullam. So, the smiling face. So, that is the essence of the whole Srimad Bhagavatam. Now, so Srila Kaviraj Goswami has confirmed that the opinion of Swarup Damodar is authoritative in the matter of devotional service. Over and above this are the notes of Swarup Damodar memorized by Raghunath Das Goswami, who also helped in the compilation of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Rupa Raghunatha Pade Hoibe Akuti Kabe Hame Bujhabo Shri Jugala Priti. Narottam Das Thakur also sings, unless I have the mercy of Rupa Goswami and Raghunath Das Goswami, I cannot be able to understand the Jugal Priti, the love affairs of Radha and Krishna. And also Raghunath Das Goswami is known as the Prayojanacharya. He is the Acharya for the Prayojana, because there are 3 divisions, right? Sambandha, Abhidheya, Prayojana. Sambandha is the relationship between the Jiva and Krishna. The Sambandha, the relationship, which is of servitorship. Abhideya means to act in that servitorship and develop, um, redevelop or revive our dormant Krishna consciousness, love of Godhead. And Prayojana means to actually attain the goal of actually coming to the stage of loving Godhead. So each of them have presiding deities. Madan Mohan Dev is um, Sambandhadideva, the predominating deity of the Sambandha Gyan. And Govinda Dev is Abhideyadideva, the predominating deity of Abhideya Gyan. And the Prayojana is Gopinath. And if you see Adilila, first chapter, verses 15, 16, 17, they are the verses, Pranati mantra of these three Adhidevas of Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. Now, each of them have acharyas. Sanatana Goswami is the Sambandha Acharya, Sambandhadi Acharya. Sambandha Acharya, I think Acharya for Sambandha Gyan. And then Abhideya Acharya is Rupa Goswami, who has Govinda Dev deity. And Sanatana Goswami had Madan Mohan Vigraha, and Rupa Goswami has Govinda Dev Vigraha temple. And Raghunath Das Goswami is the Prayojana Acharya, the Acharya in charge of the subject of love of God, the ultimate aim of life. So, Raghunath Das Goswami also helped in the compilation of Chaitanya Charitamrita because he learned, actually Chaitanya Mahaprabhu handed Raghunath Das Goswami over to Swarup Damodar for training. And training means not like a bhakta washing pots and all this. He was way higher than that. His training was much higher level, and he actually studied all the rasa tattva of Krishna's pastimes. And Swarup Damodar was with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu during the Antilila. Swarup Damodar Goswami, Ramananda Rai, these personalities were always with Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And they noted, so Swarup Damodar has a lot of notes from, his records of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's activities. Most of them are madness. So, Raghunath Das Goswami memorized those notes. And he helped in the compilation of Chaitanya Charitamrita. After the disappearance of Swarup Damodar Goswami, Raghunath Das Goswami went to Vrindavan. At that time, the author Srila Kaviraj Goswami or Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami met Raghunath Das Goswami, by whose mercy he also could memorize all the notes. Memorized. In this way, the author was able to complete this transcendental literature, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. This memorization is very important because this is called Smaranavastha. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur describes all the different avasthas or stages of one's cultivation of Krishna consciousness. So Shravana Dasha, what is that? Let's actually go there. Okay. NOI 8. Okay, so here, Upadeshamrita, verse 8 purport. This is interesting. Now, okay, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has commented as follows upon this verse. Okay, what is the verse? Let's actually go to the verse and then come back to this part of the purport. Okay, the essence of all advice. This is the essence of all advice. तन्नामरूपचरितादिषु कीर्तनानुस्मृत्योः क्रमेण रसना मनसि नियोज्य तिष्ठन् व्रजेतदनुरागी जनानुगामी कालं नयेदखिलमित्युपदेशसारम्. Upadeshasaram, the sar of all upadesh. What is that? Sukirtana. Tannama rupa charitadi sukirtana. Sukirtana means very nicely chanting. Kirtan means we already know. Sukirtana means very nicely, attentively with great respect, fully absorbing, and with when we say respect, it is to actually give full attention and full study to this. Okay? So let's see the translation. The essence of all advice is that one should utilize one's full time, 24 hours a day, in nicely chanting and remembering the Lord's divine name, transcendental form, qualities, and eternal pastimes, thereby gradually engaging one's tongue and mind. In this way, one should reside in Vraja, Golok Vrindavan Dham, and serve Krishna under the guidance of devotees. One should follow in the footsteps of the Lord's beloved devotees who are deeply attached to his devotional service. So, in the description and in the purport of this, we will go to that part. Okay, here. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur has commented as follows upon this verse. One who has not yet developed interest in Krishna consciousness should give up all material motives and train his mind by following the progressive regulative principles, namely chanting and remembering Krishna and his name, form, qualities, pastimes, and so forth. In this way, after developing a taste for such things, one should try to live in Vrindavan and pass his time constantly remembering Krishna's name, fame, pastimes, and qualities under the direction and protection of an expert devotee. This is the sum and substance of all instruction regarding the cultivation of devotional service. In the neophyte stage, one should always engage in hearing Krishna Katha. This is called Shravana Dasha. In astrology there is Dasha. Dasha means a period of time where we are under the influence of a certain planet, predominant influence of a certain planet, like Shani Dasha, which is most commonly known. But there is Dasha of every single planet. So when we are under the influence of, in devotional service also, we are under the stage. It's called Dasha, means actually stage. Okay, stage means not the stage on which you perform, not that stage. Phase of advancement or stage of advancement. So in the neophyte stage, one should always engage in hearing Krishna Katha. This is called Shravana Dasha, the stage of hearing. Okay? By constantly hearing the transcendental holy name of Krishna and hearing of his transcendental form, qualities, and pastimes, one can attain to the stage of acceptance called Varana Dasha. That means we accept. We are hearing, that is one thing. But then we actually accept it in the fullest degree. In the beginning, it is just out of curiosity that we hear. But then, as we become more and more fixed in that, our Shraddha improves. Then that stage is called, when we accept completely, is called Varana Dasha. We can see this transition from Shravana Dasha to Varana Dasha in Bhagavad Gita, when in the second chapter, he says, Arjuna says, what is that? Let's go there. 2:7. Okay. Yeah. Karpanya doshopahatah svabhavah prichhami tvam dharma sammudha chetah yachreyasyan nishchitam bruhitan me shishyasteham shadhimam tvam prapannam. You see this? Now I am confused about my duty and have lost all composure because of miserly weakness. In this condition, I am asking you, Krishna, to tell me for certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. Until this point, Arjuna was blabbering. First chapter, Arjuna was blabbering. Of course, in the beginning there was Dhritarashtra and the Sanjaya conversation, and then Duryodhana and Dronacharya conversation, and then Krishna and Arjuna. And Arjuna actually speaks. The whole thing of first chapter, the major portion is Arjuna speaking. Second chapter also, in the beginning, Arjuna only was speaking. Finally, he stopped speaking and said, I want you, Krishna, to tell me what is good for me. Then he began to hear, began to listen. That's when the real auspiciousness started for Arjuna. So that is called Shravana Dasha. And the stage of acceptance is Varana Dasha, which you can see here, 10:14. So here in the 2:7, we just saw that he said, I'm a soul surrendered unto you. So that's surrender, but that's in the beginning stage of surrender. So when Shravana Dasha happens, surrender means he's not yet prepared to act according to the instruction. He's just bewildered. I want to know more. Shravana Dasha. Then Varana Dasha, 10th chapter. Sarvameta dhritam manye yanmam vadasi Keshava. Sarvameta dhritam manye. Truth. Manye means I accept. Yanmam vadasi Keshava. Whatever you have said, Keshava, to me, I accept it as truth. So, what is that? Oh Krishna, I totally accept as truth all that you have told me. This is Varana Dasha. Okay. Now go back. Okay. Attain to the stage of acceptance called Varana Dasha. So from second chapter, when he said Shravana Dasha, it took him 8 chapters to the 10th chapter, where he came to Varana Dasha. I accept totally whatever you say. Of course, he is actually pure devotee. He is just teaching us by his behavior, by his questioning, by his acceptance, by his further questioning. Actually, if you see in the 5th chapter, 3rd chapter, he further questions. 4th chapter as well. All the way, even 14th chapter, he still is questioning. Just to know more and more and more. So he's teaching us in many ways in the Bhagavad Gita. Okay, let's get back to this. Stage of acceptance called Varana Dasha. When one attains this stage, he becomes attached to the hearing of Krishna Katha. So this attachment to hearing of Krishna Katha, which is called Vasudeva Katha Ruchi, means, so after this stage, although he, now Arjuna said, I accept whatever you say. That does not mean that's the end of our conversation. I accept it. Okay, fine, good. We're all good. No, he does not say that. He said, I want to know more. So therefore, he is asking even more questions and inducing Krishna to more, hear more and more. And if you see all the great sages like Shaunaka Rishi, they ask, even King Parikshit asking, Sukadeva Goswami, Shaunaka Rishi asking, Sukadeva Goswami, who heard from Sukadeva Goswami while Parikshit Maharaj was hearing. And then Maitreya Muni asking, Vidura asking Maitreya, even in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asking Ramananda Rai. All these are not that they do not know the religious principles, but they want to hear more. They're just very eager to hear. When one attains this stage, he becomes attached to the hearing of Krishna Katha. When one is able to chant in ecstasy, he attains the stage of Smaranavastha, the stage of remembering. Why I wanted to, you see? And the stage of remembering means what? Recollection, absorption, meditation, constant remembrance, and trance are the 5 items of progressive Krishna Smarana. We have just learned that, Raghunath Das Goswami memorized these notes of Sarup Damodar, and Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami memorized the notes further from Raghunath Das Goswami. So this memorization is actually there in not just like, Patti Marufai, rattling away like a by rote. No, it's not just by rote. It's fully memorized means this, like this, just like this. He attends to this is Smaranavastha, the stage of remembering. So, Srinvata, what is that? Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnoh Smaranam. When we say Vishnoh Smaranam means this Smaranavastha. The stage of remembering, recollection, absorption, meditation, constant remembrance, and trance. Actually, these are progressive. You see, 5 items of progressive Krishna Smaran. And in trance, it is complete, not only continuous but also dense and thick remembrance of Krishna. These are actually, I think, explained more in Madhuri Kadambini of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. But yeah, these are the stages of progressive Krishna Smaran. At first, remembrance of Krishna may be interrupted. So this is, recollection. We collect, forget, again recollect. Like that. At first, remembrance of Krishna may be interrupted at intervals. And for us now, in our stage, the intervals are very long. We are remembering Krishna in very short intervals actually. The majority of our time is spent in forgetfulness of Krishna. That gap should reduce as we advance in Krishna consciousness. That's the definition of advancement. Otherwise, we're not advancing. If the gaps of interruption are way too long and they're staying long, then we're staying far away from Krishna. So that gaps must reduce, those interruptions must reduce and come to the point where we're continuously remembering Krishna. Prabhupada said 24 hours non-stop remembering Krishna. So at first, remembrance of Krishna may be interrupted at intervals, but later remembrance proceeds uninterrupted. When remembrance is uninterrupted, it becomes concentrated. You imagine, like milk, cooking down of the milk, becomes thick and thick and thick. When remembrance is uninterrupted, it becomes concentrated and is called meditation. When meditation expands and becomes constant, it is called anusmriti. By now you may say, what is this? Uninterrupted and constant, is it not the same? It's not exactly the same. It's layered. How to say? When it becomes thicker and thicker, even when it is not thick, like milk, when it is not mixed with water, if it is just milk, that is already milk. But then that pure milk is now being cooked down. It is occupying lesser and lesser space. The same milk, which was maybe 1 liter, now has become half a liter. But the same essence is there. It's cooked down. Essence. Saram. So that is what is being conveyed, because English may not have sometimes the appropriate words. But it doesn't matter, because by using those words, the words become redefined by the acharyas. So sometimes they have some quibbles, not quibbles actually, they have huge objections about using English words. Like they say Atma is not soul. Soul is a very Christian definition and it does not fully convey the meaning of Atma. Or similarly, there are many Sanskrit words which do not fully English words which do not fully convey the meaning that is presented in the Sanskrit word, like religion and dharma. They say, oh, religion is dharma is different. Dharma is a way of life. Religion is a set of codes. They actually do not know what they're talking about, because dharma means the way of life. Religion also means way of life. But of course, the English definition of religion today is muddled with many misconceptions. But when the Acharya uses the word religion as a synonym in English for the word dharma in Sanskrit, then what is happening here is the definition of the word religion is being refined by the usage of the word by the Acharya, usage of the word by the Acharya. How did definitions come to evolve of certain words? Because of how people use it in different contexts, and therefore the dictionary gets updated with the updated meanings, of the updated viewpoints, current worldviews, like that. So when a pure devotee comes to actually who is the real authority on this word of religion or dharma, because not the linguist who has come up with the word definition in the dictionary he's not the authority on religion. The expert in the field, the acharya, and especially one who is actually a bona fide acharya in the sampradaya, he knows. Sat shastri kurvanti shastrani. Scriptures become authoritative by the influence of the pure devotee when he quotes them. Similarly, shastra means any book actually that governs our life. Of course, Vedic scriptures, but any book is also shastra. So the dictionary is also a shastra, teaching us all these words. So the dictionary becomes authoritative by the acharya using words from it. So even though certain words are not perfectly describing something, but when the acharya uses in the right context, eventually the perfect definition of that word, the perfection, the apotheosis of that word, that's a perfect word for it. Apotheosis means the perfection of the evolution, the end and the perfection of the evolution of something is called apotheosis. So the apotheosis of all ideas and all words and all scriptures come forth from a pure devotee. When a pure devotee touches it, it becomes nectar immediately. It becomes purified. Just like we all go to do Ganga Snan to purify ourselves of sins. But when the Acharya goes, he purifies Ganga. Because Ganga has accumulated so many sins of these people, the pure devotee, he purifies Ganga. I'm not just saying making it up, I'll just go there. We are going rabbit hole after rabbit hole, but we will come back all this way. Okay, let me actually show you this. Not my word. It's actually two places in Bhagavatam is mentioned. Wait, yeah, 996. Okay, you see, Shri Bhagiratha Uvacha Sadhvon Shanta Brahmishtha Lokapavanaha Harantyagam Tenga Sangat Teshvaste Hyagabhidharihi. So Bhagirath is saying to Ganga Mata. He's saying, Bhagirath said, those who are saintly because of devotional service and are therefore in the renounced order, free from material desires, and who are pure devotees, expert in following the regulative principles mentioned in the Vedas, are always glorious and pure in their behavior and are able to deliver all fallen souls. When such pure devotees bathe in your water, in Ganga water, Ganga Snan they take, the sinful reactions accumulated from other people will certainly be counteracted. For such devotees always keep in the core of their hearts the Supreme Personality of Godhead who can vanquish all sinful reactions. So the holy rivers become purified by the pure devotee going there. The scriptures and any book becomes purified by the touch of the pure devotee. So he purifies definitions of impure words. Because actually, all words are meant to glorify only the Lord. The whole sound, the entire sound, the entire all sounds put together are created by the Lord and they are meant to serve the Lord. So if they are serving something else, that is an actually imperfect use of that sound. The perfection of the use of that sound should be to serve the Lord. So in this way, the pure devotees, they purify definitions. Okay? So we should not be too semantic about worrying about semantics, about, oh, this word is not the correct word. That's fine, okay. But let that word be now purified by the usage of them. So dharma, religion, that interchangeable usage is perfectly fine when Prabhupada did it. And we should similarly not shy away from doing it and double down on our stance if anybody questions it by explaining like this. Okay? Change their perception to suit to suit the philosophy, not that we change our philosophy to suit their perception. Okay, so going back. So when meditation expands and becomes constant, it is called anusmriti. By uninterrupted and unceasing anusmriti, one enters the stage of samadhi or spiritual trance. After smaranadasha or samadhi has fully developed, the soul comes to understand his original constitutional position. At that time, he can perfectly and clearly understand his eternal relationship with Krishna. That is called sampatti dasha, the perfection of life. Chaitanya Charitamrita advises those who are neophytes to give up all kinds of motivated desires and simply engage in the regulative devotional service of the Lord according to the directions of Scripture. In this way, a neophyte can gradually develop attachment for Krishna's name, fame, form, qualities, and so forth. When one has developed such attachment, he can spontaneously serve the lotus feet of Krishna even without following the regulative principles. This stage is called Raga Bhakti or devotional service and spontaneous love. So it goes on. Sampatti Dasha is the highest. So anyway, this memorization is this Smaranavastha. It's very deep. It's not just memorize. Oh, memorize. Okay. You wrote those notes. Yeah, you wrote those notes. Note number 3.1. 3.6 or something. Not just that. That is good. That is the beginning stages. That's where we start. So we should memorize all the verses, which is very important. Eventually, that memorization matures into this 5 stages of thickening of the meditation, or coming finally to trance. So that development has to happen. Okay, so going back. At that time, the author Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami met Raghunath Das Goswami, by whose mercy he also could memorize all the notes. In this way, the author was able to complete this transcendental literature, Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. So going now, first verse. I don't know if we can finish the whole chapter. I was thinking of finishing the whole chapter. Let's see, 1 hour passed. Yeah, as usual, 45 minutes. Haven't started the first verse. Jai. Okay, so 2-1. विच्छेदेऽस्मिन् प्रभोरन्त्य लीलासूत्रानुवर्णने गौरस्य कृष्णविच्छेद प्रलापाद्यनुवर्ण्यते. While relating in synopsis form the last division of the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in this chapter I shall describe the Lord's transcendental ecstasy, which appears like madness due to his separation from Krishna. Purport. In this second chapter, the activities of Lord Chaitanya that took place after the Lord accepted sannyas are generally described. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is specifically mentioned here as being Gaura, or of fair complexion. Krishna is generally known to be blackish, but when he is absorbed in the thought of the gopis, who are all of fair complexion, Krishna himself also becomes fair. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in particular, felt separation from Krishna very deeply, exactly like a lover who is dejected in separation from the beloved. Such feelings, which were expressed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for nearly 12 years at the end of his pastimes, are described in brief in this second chapter of Madhya Leela. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. All glories to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, all glories to Lord Nityananda, all glories to Advaita Chandra, and all glories to all the devotees of the Lord. So this is always how he starts off any chapter. शेष शेष जय रहिला प्रभुर द्वादश वत्सर कृष्ण वियोग स्फूर्ति होय निरंतर. During his last 12 years, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always manifested all the symptoms of ecstasy in separation from Krishna. Sri Radhikar Cheshta Jena Uddhava Darshane Eimata Dasha Prabhur Hoy Ratri Dine. And this is why Uddhava Gita becomes very important for Gaudiya Vaishnavas, followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, because when Uddhava met Radharani, she was talking like a mad woman for only like, how many verses was it? I think 11 verses or something. But it's very, very deep. So here it is said, similarly, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's state of mind day and night was practically identical to Radharani's state of mind when Uddhava came to Vrindavan to see the gopis. This is mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, chapter 47. निरंतर होय प्रभुर विरह उन्माद भ्रममय चेष्टा सदा प्रलापमय वाद. The Lord constantly exhibited a state of mind reflecting the madness of separation. All his activities were based on forgetfulness, and his talks were always based on madness. रोमकूपे रक्तोद्गम दंत सब हाले क्षणे अंग क्षीण होय क्षणे अंग फूले. So look at this. I mean, unimaginable. How can something like this happen? See, blood flowed from all the pores of his body. I mean, from the pores of your body, blood comes out. What kind of feeling, what kind of intense feeling one must be having to have blood come out from the pores of the body? I mean, blood is going through the blood vessels. How did it come out from there and coming out from the pores of the body? All the pores of his body, blood. Blood flowed from all the pores of his body, and all his teeth were loosened. What kind of feeling will make your teeth loosen? We cannot even imagine. We cannot even begin to imagine the kind of separation that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu must be feeling. At one moment, his whole body became slender, and at another moment, his whole body became fat. How? So this cannot be explained. We just have to hear it. We just have to like listen. Oh wow, that's it. We cannot understand. We have no entrance into this. Um, it's a very very high platform, but we can just appreciate and worship Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for his uncommon love, and we can just imagine how. So these were the same things Radharani is going through when Krishna was away in Mathura and Dwarka. She was going through all this blood coming from all pores of her body, teeth loosening, whole body becoming slender, sometimes fat. How can we even imagine these things? Again, another thing about this is how can there be blood? Asnaviram shuddham apapa vidham. Ishopanishad says in the 8th verse that the Lord does not have veins, so he does not have blood. But the Lord does not need veins to show blood. And the blood coming out from the Lord is not something which is, oh, he's now injured or something. I mean, Bhishmadev was shooting arrows at Krishna and blood was coming out. And for Krishna, it was like, just like a flower garland being put. Oh, my devotee is worshipping me with the arrows and blood is coming out. This is how he's worshipping me in a chivalrous mood. So you see how for the Lord, blood may come out. Why not? If we are getting blood from our body, if man is made in the image of God, then Lord also must be having blood. But again, when the Lord, it is said that Lord does not have veins or this and that, it is, he does not have veins or anything like us, like ours. He may, like when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was testing, in the beginning, the first time he met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he became unconscious, fell down in Jagannath temple. And Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was actually testing his, put a cotton swab in his nose to see whether he was breathing. He was very, very lightly breathing. And how can, the whole lung system and everything work like an ordinary, that means he was having a body like, skin and everything. Later, skin also will be mentioned. Joints, the bones, all will be mentioned. How can the Lord have bones and everything if his body is spiritual? Well, he can make it look like any other material body. He can do that. Just like the Sri Murti, the deity form of the Lord, what to speak of like ordinary skin or what? In the form of stone, he is coming. But then again, he is not stone. We may or may not be able to appreciate or understand, but he is not stone. But he comes in a way that we can see, we can serve. So next verse. गंभीरा भितरे रात्रे नाही निद्रा लवा भित्ते मुख शिर घासे क्षत होय सब. The small room beyond the corridor is called the Gambhira. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to stay in that room, but he did not sleep for a moment. All night he used to grind his mouth and head on the wall, and his face sustained injuries all over. तीन द्वारे कपाटे प्रभु जाये न बाहिरे कभु सिंह द्वारे पड़े कभु सिंधु नीरे. Although the 3 doors of the house were always closed, the Lord would nonetheless go out and sometimes would be found at the Jagannath temple before the gate known as Simhadwar, and sometimes the Lord would fall flat into the sea. चटक पर्वत देखी गोवर्धन भ्रमे धाया चले आर्तनाद करिया क्रंदने. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu would also run very fast across the sand dunes, mistaking them for Govardhan. As he ran, he would wail and cry loudly. Purport. Because of the winds of the sea, sometimes the sand would form dunes. Such sand dunes are called Chatak Parvat. Chatak Parvat. Instead of seeing these sand dunes simply as hills of sand, the Lord would take them to be Govardhan Hill. Sometimes he would run toward these dunes at high speed, crying very loudly, expressing the state of mind exhibited by Radharani. Thus, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was absorbed in thoughts of Krishna and his pastimes. His state of mind brought him the atmosphere of Vrindavan and Govardhan Hill. And thus he enjoyed the transcendental bliss of separation and meeting. It's a transcendental bliss of separation. उपवनोद्यान देखी वृंदावन ज्ञान, ताहा जाए नाचे गाए क्षणे मूर्छा जान. Sometimes Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mistook the small parks of the city for Vrindavan. Sometimes he would go there, dance and chant, and sometimes fall unconscious in spiritual ecstasy. कहा नहीं सुनी जय भावेर विकार, সেই ভাব হয় প্রভুর শরীরে প্রচার. The extraordinary transformations of the body due to transcendental feelings would never have been possible for anyone but the Lord, in whose body all transformations were manifest. This verse sounds like that song by Vasudeva Ghosh, Vasudeva Datta, Vasudeva Ghosh. যদি গৌর না হইতো তবে কি হইতো, কেমনে ধরিতাম রে রাধার মহিমা প্রেম রস সীমা. জানতো কে রাধার মহিমা প্রেম রস সীমা, জগতে জানতো কে. So he sings that যদি গৌর না হইতো তবে কি হইতো. If Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wasn't there, what would have happened to us? কেমনে ধরিতাম রে. How would we have sustained our bodies? How would we have sustained our life? It's very difficult to sustain. How to live in this world if we did not know what Krishna consciousness was? I mean, people live, but how are they living? I mean, what kind of life it is? Lifeless life. Really lifeless. They're all very morose, actually, the people of this world. Kemone dharitam de. Radhar mahima. Jagate janatoke. Who would have known the glory of Srimati Radharani? Prema rasa sima. Prema rasa sima means the topmost limit of love of Godhead. How would we have known? How would the world have known about the topmost limit of Krishna consciousness exhibited by Srimati Radharani? Jadi Gaur na hoito. If Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not come. So this almost sounds like that. The extraordinary transformations of the body due to transcendental feelings would never have been possible for anyone but the Lord, in whose body all transformations were manifest. Of course, it is said would have not been possible for anyone but the Lord, but nobody would have even known about it. Even if it was possible for the Lord, it would not have been possible for us to even hear about it if Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not come. Purport. The ecstatic transformations of the body described in such exalted literatures as the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu are practically not seen in this material world. However, these symptoms were perfectly present in the body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. These symptoms are indicative of Mahabhava, or the highest ecstasy. Sometimes Sahajiyas artificially imitate these symptoms, but experienced devotees reject such imitations immediately. The author admits herein that these symptoms are not to be found anywhere but in the body of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So here it is that the author admits these symptoms are to be found, not to be found anywhere but in the body of Sri Chaitanya. That means just now the other comment, the gopis, Mahabhav, that Mahabhav must have definitely been of a lesser degree than what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is experiencing and Radharani experiences. Of course, they're also very high, it's not that something less. But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the limit. हस्तपदेर संधि सब वितस्ति प्रमाणे, संधि छाड़ी भिन्न होए चर्म रहे स्थाने. The joints of his hands and legs would sometimes become separated by 8 inches, and they remained connected only by the skin. Wow. How? We cannot understand. We just have to listen. That's it. And be amazed. Hastapad Shirasabha Sharira Bhitare Pravishta hoy Kurma Rupa Dekhiye Prabhure. Sometimes Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's hands, legs, and head would all enter within his body, just like the withdrawn limbs of a tortoise. Like in the case of Jagannath, like you see Jagannath standing like that, Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra. Subhadra, though fully the hands have gone inside. Uh, the eyes become dilated, and then the hands all go inside the body, and that's how Krishna, Balaram, and Subhadra were found standing. And that is the Jagannath. It's not that it's an unfinished Murti, although the Leela of the carpenter, Vishwakarma actually, it sounds like that it was an unfinished product, but actually it was more than finished. Because in his original roop, which we can comprehend, he's there, yes, but this is the original roop plus transcendental, intense transcendental ecstasy. So it's more than the original roop. It's not an unfinished roop, it's ultra complete roop of the Lord, Jagannath form. And that is the form plus the ecstasy. So it's like, when we say Hare Krishna, it's Radharani and Krishna. So when Radharani, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is both of them combined. So Krishna in the mood of Radharani. So similarly, when Krishna became in that mood of, the Vrindavan mood, the gopis, then he became like that, Jagannath form. And in that merciful, in that extra over ecstatic form, he is extremely merciful as well, which is why he's called Patita Pavan. So that's the proper understanding of Jagannath, the roop of Jagannath. It's not some weird, what is this weird form? Well, it is weird because all these symptoms are weird for ordinary people. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, madness. So Jagannath is actually mad Krishna. Krishna in madness. So that is extra layer, the coating of Radharani is there over it. So Radharani is very merciful. So when Krishna is covered with that coating of Radharani, that Gopi Bhava, that transcendental ecstasy, extremely merciful. Radha Bhava Dyuti Suvalitam. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has adopted the bhava of Radharani, the love of Radharani, and also her compassion. Like, why do people in Vrindavan chant Radhe Radhe, Jai Shri Radhe? Why? Because they want to take shelter of Radharani so that Krishna will be easily gotten. Because we can't go to Krishna directly, but if Radharani recommends, he cannot refuse, and therefore they catch hold of Radharani. Please take me to Krishna. That's why in Vrindavan there is this, famous folklore song. They say, Radhe Radhe Sham se milade. So, O Radharani, please make me meet Sham or Krishna. So that is the mood. So when that same mood of Radharani, not only Radharani's love for the Lord is exhibited by Chaitanya, but also her compassion for everyone else, for the fallen souls, is also exhibited by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And similarly, that's why Jai Gaura, Shai Krishna, Shai Jagannath, that song by Vasudeva Ghosh, he sings like this. So who is Gaura? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he is the same as Krishna and he is the same as Jagannath. And especially Jagannath, he is also has this compassionate coating of compassionate envelope of Radharani, that Gopi Bhava, which he was thinking about. When he heard that pastime where Rohini Devi was explaining to the queens of Dwarka about the pastimes Vrindavan Leela, especially when it comes to the gopis and all that, they went into ecstasy, Krishna, Balaram and Subhadra. So that makes him very, very compassionate for the fallen souls. এই মত অদ্ভুত ভাব শরীরে প্রকাশ মনেতে শূন্যতা বাক্যে হা হা হুতাশ. In this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to manifest wonderful ecstatic symptoms. His mind appeared vacant, and there were only hopelessness and disappointment in his words. Shunyaitam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Virahename. So this mind appeared vacant means not that he was spacing out, but he was, fully absorbed in Krishna so much so that the whole world is appearing vacant in his absence. And when that happens, there is actually the intense presence. This absence, this hopelessness, this so-called disappointment is actually the opposite of what it is. This is transcendental. So that verse is there in the Padhyavali. संगम विरह विकल्पे वरमिह विरहो न संगमान्तस्य एकस्य एव संगे त्रिभुवनमपि तन्मयं विरहे. The Padhyavali. So tam prati Shri Radha Vakyam, Srimati Radharani's reply. So what was the question first of all? Okay. Ahare विरतिः समस्त विषय ग्रामे निवृत्तिः परा नासाग्रे नयनं यदेतदपरं यच्चैकतानं मनः मौनं चेदमिदं च शून्यमखिलं यद्विश्वमाभाति ते तद्ब्रूयाः सखि योगिनी किमसि भो किं वा वियोगिन्यसि. Some gopis asking Radharani, you refuse to eat. You have stopped all activities of the senses. Now, does it not look like what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is feeling now? Those activities of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Same madness. Okay? See, you refuse to eat. You have stopped all activities of the senses. Your eyes are fixed on the tip of your nose and your mind is fixed on a single thought. You are now silent and you see the entire world as a void. Friend, please tell me, have you become a mystic yogini or are you wrapped in meditation on Krishna? Tam prati Shri Radha Vakyam Srimati Radharani's reply. Sangama viraha vikalpe varamiha virago na sangamandasya ekah sa eva sange tribhuvanamapi tanmayam virahe. Separation from Krishna is better than meeting him. When I meet him, there is only one Krishna. But when I am separated from him, the three worlds become filled with Krishnas. So that's why she did not want to go to Mathura and Dwarka to see Krishna, because she was seeing Krishnas everywhere. If she would have gone to Mathura, she would have seen one Krishna. Why take the labor of going to Mathura and all that to see only one Krishna? I will stay here and see unlimited Krishnas in Vrindavan. So, what is this? Krishna Viraha. So these appear very disappointing, very separation, but actually it's not separation, it's intense meeting. So it's not actually disappointment, it's intense happiness. So let's go back. कहाँ मोर प्राणनाथ मुरली वदन कहाँ करो कहाँ पान व्रजेंद्र नंदन. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to express his mind in this way. Where is the Lord of my life, who is playing his flute? What shall I do now? Where should I go to find the son of Maharaj Nanda? In that Shad Goswami Ashtaka. He Radhe Vraja Devike Chalalite He Nanda Suno Kuta. Kuta means where? Where are you, Radha, Krishna, Lalita, Vishakha, all of you, where are you? What is that? He Govardhana Kalpa Pada Patale Kalindivane Kuta. Are you at the foot of the Govardhan hill or are in the bank of the Yamuna? Ghoshantaviti Sarvato Vrajapure Khedai Mahavihvalo. So in this way the Goswamis were in the land of Vrindavan like madmen in separation from Krishna. They're not saying, oh, I met Krishna, very nice, I'm meeting with Krishna, I danced with him last night. No, they're not saying this. Hey Radhe, Nanda Shuno Kutaha. Kutaha means where are you? Vande Rupa Sanatano Raghuyugo Sri Jiva Gopalako. So these are the moods of the six Goswamis. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exhibited it to the highest degree. काहारे कहिबो के बा जाने मोर दुख व्रजेंद्र नंदन विनु फाटे मोर बुक. To whom should I speak? Who can understand my disappointment? Without the son of Nanda Maharaj, my heart is broken. Yeah? এই মত বিলাপ করে विह्वल अंतर रायर नाटक श्लोके पढ़े निरंतर. Nirantar. Always he used to chant the shloka. In this way, he was feeling separation and he used to always chant this Rayar Natak. Rayar Natak means Ramananda Ray's Natak, drama that he wrote, Jagannath Vallabha Natak. In that there is a shloka which he always chants, which will be in the next verse. See, in this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu always expressed bewilderment and lamented in separation from Krishna. At such times, he used to recite the shlokas from Ramananda Ray's drama known as Jagannath Vallabha Natak. प्रेम छेद रुजोवगच्छति हरिर् नायं न च प्रेम वा स्थानास्थानमवैति नापि मदनो जानाति नो दुर्बला अन्यो वेद न चान्य दुःखमखिलं नो जीवनं वाश्रवम् द्वित्राण्येव दिनानि यौवनमिदं हा हा विधे कागते. Srimati Radharani used to lament, our Krishna does not realize what we have suffered from injuries inflicted in the course of loving affairs. We are actually misused by love because love does not know where to strike and where not to strike. Even Cupid does not know of our very much weakened condition. What should I tell anyone? No one can understand another's difficulties. Our life is actually not under our control, for youth will remain for only 2 or 3 days and soon be finished. In this condition, O Creator, what will be our destination? So what she's saying here, of course, this is separation from Krishna. She's saying our youth will only remain for 2 or 3 days and soon be finished. What will be our destination? What she's saying there? She's saying that, in these youthful days only we can enjoy Krishna, and youth will be finished at any point. So there will be no more chance of enjoyment. We'll not be able to enjoy again. Of course, Radha and Krishna are always youthful, but that separation, that feeling of temporariness of the youth is conveyed here by Radharani to magnify her separation from Krishna, the intense anxiety to meet him as soon as possible. And she was constantly in that mood, stuck for her whole life. Purport. This verse is from the Jagannath Vallabha Natak 3.9 of Ramananda Raya. Upajilo premankura bhangilo je dukha pura Krishna taha nahi kare pana bahire nagar raja bhitare shathera kaja paranari vadhe savadhan. Srimati Radharani spoke thus in distress due to separation from Krishna. Oh, what shall I say of my distress? After I met Krishna, my loving propensity sprouted, but upon separating from him, I sustained a great shock, which is now continuing like the sufferings of a disease. The only physician for this disease is Krishna himself, but he is not taking care of this sprouting plant of devotional service. What can I say about the behavior of Krishna? Outwardly, he is very attractive. He is a very attractive young lover, but at heart, he is a great cheat, very expert in killing others' wives. This accusation of Krishna is actually a statement of intense love, and these are actually, they are called different. This is called Chitra Jalpa, which are very nicely explained by Rupa Goswami in the Ujjwal Nilmani, the verses of which were quoted in the purports to 10th canto, 31st chapter. Um, I think 10 kinds of Chitra Jalpa. Prajalpa is one of them, but there are other Jalpas. All of them 10 kind of Jalpas, and I think I went through all this uh, at one point. I mean, we can go through. I mean, it will be repetition, but it's always good to uh, recap. Right? Is it this one? I think it's not this. No, I think it's not the Gopi Geet. It's the Uddhava Geet. Let me see. This is why it's good to recap. Because otherwise, we forget where it is. Yes, Prajalpa. Okay, so this is actually the Uddhava, not Uddhava, Bhramara Geet. This is called Bhramara Geet because Radharani was talking to a bumblebee. Okay. Gopyuvacha Madhupakitava bandho ma sprishanghrim sapatnya kucha vilulitamala kunkuma shmashrubhirna vahatu madhupatistan manin मानिनीनां प्रसादं यदु सदसि विडम्ब्यं यस्य दूतस्त्वमीदृक्. The gopi said, "O honeybee, O friend of a cheater." She's calling Krishna a cheater, like today's verse, right? I mean, just now that CC verse where she said Krishna is a great cheat. Here, "O friend of a cheater, don't touch my feet with your whiskers, which are smeared with the kumkum that rubbed onto Krishna's garland when it was crushed by the breasts of a rival lover." Look at how she talks. "Let Krishna satisfy the women of Mathura. One who sends a messenger like you will certainly be ridiculed in the Yadu's assembly." Srimati Radharani indirectly chastised Krishna by chastising the bumblebee, which he took for his messenger. Okay, so Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that this and the following 9 verses exemplify 10 kinds of impulsive speech spoken by a lover. This verse illustrates the qualities of Prajalpa as described by Srila Rupa Goswami in the following verse from his Ujjwal Nilmani. 14.182. Asuyershya madayuja yovadhirana mudraya priyasya kaushalodgarah prajalpah satukirtyate. Prajalpa is speech that denigrates the tactlessness of one's lover with expressions of disrespect. It is spoken in a mood of envy, jealousy, and pride. Kitava bandho expresses envy. It's actually very beautiful. Next. Sakridadhara sudham swam mohinim payayitva sumanasa iva sadyas tatyajesman bhavadrik paricharati katham tat पादपद्मं नु पद्मा ह्यपि बत हृतचेता ह्युत्तमश्लोकजल्पैः. After making us drink the enchanting nectar of his lips only once, Krishna suddenly abandoned us, just as you might quickly abandon some flowers. She's saying now, Krishna abandoned us just like you might quickly abandon some flowers. So you got all your traits from your association with this Krishna. That's why you also have similar traits of spending only a little while with a flower and then running away to another flower. Look at thought process. How is it then that goddess Padma willingly serves his lotus feet? Alas, the answer must certainly be that her mind has been stolen away by his deceitful words. This verse, Srimati Radharani continues to compare Sri Krishna to the bumblebee, and in her distress, she states that the reason the goddess of fortune is constantly devoted to his lotus feet must be that she has been fooled by Krishna's promises. This statement of, according to Vishwanath Chakravarti, this statement of Srimati Radharani illustrates Parijalpa. So, Prajalpa, Parijalpa, as described in Sri Ujjwal Nilmani 1484. प्रभोर्निदयता शाठ्य चापल्याद्युपपादनात् स्वविचक्षणता व्यक्तिर्भंग्या स्यात् परिजल्पितम्. Parijalpa is that speech which, Parijalpa is that speech which, through various devices, shows one's own cleverness by exposing the mercilessness, duplicity, unreliability, and so on of one's Lord. किमिह बहुषडङ्घ्रे गायसि त्वं यदूनाम् अधिपतिमग्रहाणाम् अग्रतो नः पुराणम् विजयसखसखीनाम् गीयतां तत्प्रसङ्गः क्षपितकुचरुजस्ते कल्पयन्तीष्टमीष्टाः. O B, why do you sing here so much about the Lord of the Yadus in front of us homeless people? These topics are old news to us. Better you sing about that friend of Arjuna in front of his new girlfriends, the burning desire in whose breasts he has now relieved. Those ladies will surely give you the charity you are begging. Purport. With the words Agrahanam Agratonah, Radharani laments that even though she and the other gopis gave up their homes to love Krishna in their conjugal relationship, the Lord left them and became a prince in the great royal city of the Yadus. Besides meaning Arjuna the victor, the word Vijaya also directly indicates Sri Krishna, who is always victorious in his endeavors, and besides meaning old news, the word Puranam also indicates that Sri Krishna is glorified in the ancient Vedic scriptures of that name. So, the seed, we observe Radharani's mood, in Radharani's mood, the seed of jealous anger which arises from an apparent disdain for Krishna, accompanied by a sarcastic sidelong glance directed toward him. Thus, this verse fits the following description of Vijalpa from the Ujjwal Nilmani 14.186. Vyaktaya suyaya gudham manamudrantaralaya aghadvishe katakshoktir vijalpo vidusham matah. According to learned authorities, Vijalpa is sarcastic speech that is addressed to the killer of Agha and that openly expresses jealousy while at the same time hinting at one's angry pride. दिवि भुवि चरसायां काः स्त्रियस्तद्दुरापाः कपटरुचिरहास भ्रूविजृम्भस्य याः स्युः चरणरज उपास्ते यस्य भूतिर्वयं का अपि च कृपणपक्षे ह्युत्तमश्लोकशब्दः. In heaven, on earth, or in the subterranean sphere, what women are unavailable to him? He simply arches his eyebrows and smiles with deceptive charm, and they all become his. The Supreme Goddess herself worships the dust of his feet, so what is our position in comparison? But at least those who are wretched can chant his name, Uttama Shloka. Actually, she is glorifying the chanting of Krishna's name. Those who are wretched can chant his name, Uttama Shloka. when he's so deceptive and he's called Uttama Shloka. It's like a sarcasm, kind of, but you know, at the same time, there is this whole depth of meaning in this, um, which is actually a glorifying Sankirtan movement, in fact, the glorifying of, the chanting of Krishna's name. In her forlorn state, uh, Radharani indicates to Krishna, you are called Uttama Shloka because you are merciful to the wretched and fallen, but if you would be merciful to me, then you would actually deserve this exalted name. It means you don't deserve it at this point. Expresses her spite born of pride, accuses Krishna of being a cheater, and finds fault with his behavior. This verse contains speech known as Ujjalpa, as described in the following verse of Ujjwal Nilmani 14.188. Hareः kuhakatākhyanam garvagarbhitayershya सासूयश्च तदाक्षेपोद्धीरैर्उज्जल्प ईर्यते. The declaration of Lord Hari's duplicitous nature in a mood of spite born of pride, together with jealousy, spoken insults directed against him, has been termed Ujjalpa by the wise. So it all looks like very full of jealousy, anger, pride, and but actually it's just it's love out of what is that called? Vipralambha, separation. विसृज शिरसि पादं वेद्म्यहं चाटुकारैर् अनुनय विदुषस्ते भेत्य दौत्यैर्मुकुन्दात् स्वकृत इह विसृष्टा पत्यपत्यन्यलोका व्यसृजदकृतचेताः किं नु सन्धेयमस्मिन्. Keep your head off my feet. I know what you're doing. You expert you expertly learned diplomacy from Mukunda, and now you come as his messenger with flattering words. But he abandoned those who for his sake alone gave up their children, husbands, and all other relations. He is simply ungrateful. Why should I make up with him now? Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur states that this illustrates the qualities of Sanjalpa. Rupa Goswami's Ujjwal Nilmani 1419, 14.190. सोल्लुण्ठया गहनया कयाप्याक्षेपमुद्रया तस्या कृतज्ञताद्युक्तिः संजल्पः कथितो बुधैः. The learned describe Sanjalpa as that speech which decries with deep irony and insulting gestures the beloved's ungratefulness, and so on. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that the word adi, meaning and so on, implies the perception in one's lover of hard-heartedness, of an inimical attitude, and of a complete lack of love. मृगयुरिव कपीन्द्रं विव्यथे लुब्धधर्मा स्त्रियमकृतविरूपां स्त्रीजितः कामयानाम् बलिमपि बलिमत्वा वेष्टयध्वांक्षवद्यस्तदलमसितसख्यैर्दुस्त्यजस्तत्कथार्थः. Like a hunter, he cruelly shot the king of the monkeys with arrows. This is Ram shooting at Vali. Because he was conquered by a woman, he disfigured another woman, Shurpanakha, who came to him with lusty desires. And even after consuming the gifts of Bali Maharaj, he bound him up with ropes as if he were a crow. So let us give up all friendship with this dark complexioned boy, even if we can't give up talking about him. So Prabhupada explains the meaning of this verse as follows. Srimati Radharani said to the bee, "You poor messenger, you are only a less intelligent servant. You do not know how much about Krishna. You do not know much about Krishna, how ungrateful and hard-hearted he has been, not only in this life, but in his previous lives also." We have heard this from our grandmother, Paurnamasi. She has informed us that Krishna was born in a Kshatriya family previous to this birth and was known as Ramachandra. In that birth, instead of killing Vali, an enemy of his friend, in the manner of a Kshatriya, he killed him just like a hunter. A hunter takes a secure hiding place and then kills an animal without facing it. So Lord Ramachandra as a Kshatriya should have fought with Vali face to face, but instigated by his friend, he killed him from behind a tree. Thus, he deviated from the religious principles of a Kshatriya. Actually, now, if anyone actually thinks he deviated from the thing of duty of a Kshatriya, it's not actually. Because Ramachandra says, well, that's how a hunter should shoot an animal. You're just an animal, monkey, and you're quite a disturbance. So I hunted you down. That's it. Of course, Ram could have faced who is Vali for Ram. But, because he behaved like an animal. Of course, he's a monkey, but also his behavior was like an animal, like taking other people's wives and, threatening his brother and all that. And so he finished him off. Also, he was so attracted by the beauty of Sita that he converted Shurpanakha, the sister of Ravana, into an ugly woman by cutting off her nose and ears. Shurpanakha proposed an intimate relationship with him, and as a Kshatriya, he should have satisfied her. But he was so henpecked that he could not forget Sita Devi and converted Shurpanakha into an ugly woman. So, you see, Ramchandra was so faithful to his wife, he did not want another woman. But even that became an insult. Oh, he disfigured Shurpanakha because he was so attached to one woman. Who is that woman? His own wife. And he's actually showing us how to, showing common people like us how to be faithful in a relationship and not be, always attracted by newer and newer relationships. Before that birth as a Kshatriya, he took birth as a Brahmana boy known as Vamanadev and asked charity from Bali Maharaj. Bali was so magnanimous that he gave him whatever he had. Yet Krishna as Vamanadev ungratefully arrested him just like a crow and pushed him down to the Patal kingdom. We know all about Krishna and how ungrateful he is, but here is the difficulty. In spite of his being so cruel and hard-hearted, it is very difficult for us to give up talking about him. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur points out that this speech of Radharani is called Avajalpa, as described by Rupa Goswami, Ujjwal Nilmani 14.192. Harau Kathinya Kamitva Dhaurtyad Asakyayogyata Yatra Sershya Bhiyevokta Sovajalpah Satam Matah. Saintly persons have concluded that when a lover, impelled by jealousy and fear, declares that Lord Hari is unworthy of her attachment because of his harshness, lustiness, and dishonesty, such speech is called Avajalpa. Lord Hari is unworthy of her attachment. There is innate pride in that statement. Yadanucharita leela karna piyusha viprut sakridadana vidhuta dvandva dharma vinashtaha sapadi griha kutumbam dina mutsrujya dina bahava iha vihanga bhikshu charyam charanti. This is like the Chaurashtakam of Bilamangal Thakur. To hear about the pastimes that Krishna regularly performs is nectar for the ears. For those who relish just a single drop of that nectar, even once, their dedication to material duality is ruined. Many such persons have suddenly given up their wretched homes and families and themselves becoming wretched, traveled here to Vrindavan to wander about like birds begging for their living. So Krishna has charmed them so much that they have left all their wealth and became beggars. So in Chaurashtakam also Bilamangal Thakur writes similarly that you are such a thief that you have stolen the hearts of the devotees, and you have stolen all their riches and you have made them poor. And bhikshu, bhikshu means, just like Radharani used bhikshu word here. Bhikshu means, like you beggar. So, according to the Acharyas, and certainly in accord with Sanskrit grammar, the last two words of the second line of this text may also be divided dharma avinashta. Then the entire line becomes part of a single compound, the meaning of which is that hearing about Krishna cleanses one of irreligious duality, and thus one is not vanquished, avinashta, by material illusion. The word dina is then given the alternate reading of dhira, meaning that one becomes spiritually sober and thus gives up attachment to fleeting material relationships. The word vihanga, birds, would in this case refer to swans, the symbol of essential discrimination. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, swans are the symbol of essential discrimination because they take the essence from the non-essential, like the milk and water. If you put as a mixture, and then the swan can take just the milk and leave the water behind. So that essence of that mixture they take. So essential discrimination, vihanga. Beautiful, how Acharya is explaining. So much deep meaning is there. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur quotes Rupa Goswami as follows in this connection with this verse. Bhangya tyagau chititasya khaganaamapi khedanat yatra sanushayam prokta tadbhaved abhijalpitam abhijalpa. When a lover indirectly states with remorse that her beloved is fit to be given up, such speech uttered like the plaintive crying of a bird is called abhijalpa. Ujjwal Nilmani 14.194. Vayamritamiva jihma vyahritam shraddadhanaah kulikarutamivagnyaah krishnavadvo harinyah dadrishurasakridetat tannakhasparisativra smararuja upamantrin bhanyatamanya. Faithfully taking his deceitful words as true, we became just like the black deer's foolish wives who trust the cruel hunter's song. Thus we repeatedly felt the sharp pain of lust caused by the touch of his nails. O messenger, please talk about something besides Krishna. Vishwanath Chakravarti categorizes this statement of Radharani's as ajalpa, as defined by Rupa Goswami, as follows. Jaihmyam tasyarti dattvam cha nirvedad yatra kirtitam bhangyanya sukha dattvam cha sa ajalpa udiritah. A statement spoken in disgust, describing how the male lover is deceitful and brings one misery, and also implying that he gives happiness to others, is known as ajalpa. Ujjwal Nilmani 14.196. प्रियसख पुनरागाः प्रेयसा प्रेषितः किम् वरय किमनुरुन्धे माननीयोऽसि मेऽङ्ग नयसि कथमिहास्मान् दुस्त्यजद्वन्द्वपार्श्वम् सततमुरसि सौम्य श्रीर्वधूः साकमास्ते. O friend of my dear one, has my beloved sent you here again? I should honor you, friend, so please choose whatever boon you wish. But why have you come back here to take us to him, whose conjugal love is so difficult to give up? After all, gentle bee, his consort is the goddess Shri, and she is always with him, staying upon his chest. So, Prabhupada explains the context of this verse. While Radharani was talking with the bee and the bee was flying hither and thither, it all of a sudden disappeared from her sight. She was in full mourning due to separation from Krishna and felt ecstasy by talking with the bee. But as soon as the bee disappeared, she became almost mad, thinking that the messenger bee might have returned to Krishna to inform him all about her talking against him. Krishna must be very sorry to hear it, she thought. In this way, she was overwhelmed by another type of ecstasy. Look at the roller coaster of her emotions. So, in the meantime, the bee flying hither and thither appeared before her again. She thought, Krishna is still kind to me. In spite of the messengers carrying disruptive messages, he is so kind that he has again sent the bee to take me to him. Srimati Radharani was very careful this time not to say anything against Krishna. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, this statement of Srimati Radharani expresses Pratijalpa as described by Srila Rupa Goswami. Actually, if you read the context here, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that the goddess of fortune Shri has the power to assume many different forms. Thus, when Krishna enjoys other women, she stays on his chest in the form of a golden lion, that belt. When he is not consorting with other women, she puts aside this form and gives him pleasure in her naturally beautiful form of a young woman. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, this statement of Srimati Radharani expresses Pratijalpa, as described by Srila Rupa Goswami. दुस्त्यज द्वन्द्वभावेऽस्मिन् प्राप्तिर्नार्हेत्यनुद्धतं दूतसम्माननेनोक्तं यत्र स प्रतिजल्पकः. When the lover humbly states that although she is unworthy of her attaining her beloved, she cannot give up hoping for a conjugal relationship with him, such words spoken with respect for her beloved's message are called Pratijalpa. Ujjwal Nilmani 14.198. Here, Srimati Radharani has given up her harsh feelings and humbly acknowledges the greatness of Sri Krishna. Apibata madhupuriyam aryaputro dhunaste smarati sa pitrgehan saumya bandhumscha gopan kvachidapi sa kathanah kinkarinam granite bhujamaguru sugandham मूर्ध्न्यधास्यत् कदानु. O Uddhava, it is indeed regrettable that Krishna resides in Mathura. Does he remember his father's household affairs and his friends, the cowherd boys? O great soul, does he ever talk about us, his maidservants? When will he lay on our heads his aguru-scented hand? Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur writes very poetically with deep spiritual insight about the emotions expressed in this and the previous 9 verses. Of course, this is a long purport. He interprets Radharani's feelings as follows. You can actually go ahead and read this. 10:47:21. It's actually recapping the whole thing in a poetic way. Or shall we actually read the whole thing? We'll read now. Srimati Radharani thought, since Krishna was once satisfied in Vraja but left for Mathura city, won't he also develop a desire to leave that place and go somewhere else? Mathura is so close to Vrindavan that it's possible he may even come back here. Krishna is the son of a respectable gentleman, Nanda Maharaj, so he must be staying in Mathura because of his sense of obligation to his father who authorized his going there. On the other hand, while Nanda's whole life is dedicated exclusively to Krishna, Nanda is so innocent that he allowed himself to be tricked by the Yadus who brought Krishna to Mathura. Krishna must be thinking, alas, alas, since even my father could not bring me back to Vraja, what can I do to return there? Thus Krishna must be impatient to come back here, and so he has sent you a messenger. It is only because Nanda is so innocent that he allowed his son to leave. So this is actually, I think, this, not all the verses, I think this particular verse. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur interprets it this way. And when we say interpret, it's not that he imagines. These are actually the real meaning of those verses, of this verse. It is only because Nanda is so innocent that he allowed his son to leave. If Nanda had allowed Krishna's mother, the queen of Vraja, to do so, she would have climbed onto Akrura's chariot and, holding her son by the neck, gone off to Mathura with him, followed by all the gopis. But this was not possible. Ever since Krishna left, Nanda has been stunned by separation from him, and Nanda's treasury rooms, storehouses, kitchens, sleeping quarters, opulent houses, and so on are now vacant. Unswept and uncleansed, they are littered with grass, dust, leaves, and cobwebs. Does Krishna ever remember his father's houses? And does he sometimes remember Subala and his other friends who are now lying stunned in other neglected houses? The women in Mathura, who now associate with Krishna, cannot know how to serve him in the way that pleases him most. When they see he is not satisfied and ask how they can make him happy, does he tell them about us gopis? So here they're actually saying that, our love is more than the girls you can find in Mathura, because they don't know how to satisfy Krishna completely. We know. Krishna must tell them, you city ladies cannot please me as much as the gopis of Vraja. They are most expert in stringing flower garlands, perfuming their bodies with ointments, playing various rhythms and melodies on stringed instruments, dancing and singing in the rasa performance, displaying their beauty, charm, and cleverness, and skillfully playing at questions and answers. They are especially expert in the pastimes of meeting one's lover and showing jealous anger and other signs of pure love and affection. Surely Krishna must know this. Therefore, he will probably tell the women of Mathura, my dear women of the Yadu clan, please go back to your families. I no longer desire to associate with you. In fact, I am going back to Vraja early tomorrow morning. When will Krishna speak like this and come back here to place his hand, fragrant with agru, on our heads? Then he will console us, saying, O beloveds of my heart, I swear to you that I will never abandon you again and go elsewhere. Indeed, I have not been able to find anyone in all the three worlds with even a trace of your good qualities. They are glorifying themselves by saying, oh, we have the most best qualities, and Krishna will also say that I cannot find anyone. But this pride is actually part of their love. Thus, Srila Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur interprets the feelings of Srimati Radharani. The Acharya further explains that the present text displays the speech called Sujalpa, as described by Rupa Goswami. Yatrarjavat sa gambhiryam sa dainyam sahachapalam sotkantham cha harih prishtah sa sujalpo nigadyate. When out of honest sincerity a lover questions Sri Hari with gravity, humility, unsteadiness, and eagerness, such speech is known as Sujalpa. Ujjwal Neelamani 14.200. Concluding this section of chapter 47, Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains that there are 10 divisions of divine madness, Divyonmada, which are expressed by the 10 divisions of Chitra Jalpa, or variegated speech. Such divine madness is shown in the special pastime of bewilderment, which is itself part of the supreme bliss Mahabhava of Srimati Radharani. The Acharya quotes the following verses from Sri Rupa Goswami's Ujjwal Neelamani 14.174, 78, 178 and 80 to explain these ecstasies. Prayo vrindavaneshwaryam मोहनोऽयं मुदञ्चति एतस्य मोहनाख्यस्य गतिं काम अप्युपेयुषः भ्रमाभा कापि वैचित्री दिव्योन्माद इतीर्यते उद्घूर्णा चित्रजल्पाद्यास्तद्भेदा बहवो मताः प्रेष्ठस्य सुहृदालोके गूढरोषाभिजृम्भितः भूरिभावमयो जल्पो यस्तीव्रोत्कण्ठितान्तिमः चित्रजल्पो दशाङ्गोऽयं प्रजल्पः परिजल्पितः विजल्पोज्जल्पसञ्जल्पः अवजल्पोऽभिजल्पितम् आजल्पः प्रतिजल्पश्च सुजल्पश्चेति कीर्तितः. It is virtually only within the princess of Vrindavan, Srimati Radharani, that the ecstasy of bewilderment arises. See here, only the Princess of Vrindavan, Srimati Radharani. She has attained to a special stage of this bewilderment, a wonderful state that resembles delusion. That resembles delusion. A wonderful state of bewilderment, transcendental bewilderment, Divyonmada, that resembles delusion. Known as Divyonmada, it has many aspects which come and go unsteadily, and one of these manifestations is Chitrajalpa. This talk, induced by her seeing her beloved's friend, is filled with covered anger and comprises many different ecstasies. It culminates in her intense, anxious eagerness. This Chitrajalpa has 10 divisions known as Prajalpa, Parijalpa, Vijalpa, Ujjalpa, Sanjalpa, Avajalpa, Abhijalpa, Ajalpa, Pratijalpa, and Sujalpa. Finally, some authorities say that Krishna himself, eager to drink the sweetness of his beloved's speech, assumed the form of the messenger bee. So, these are the feelings that were governing Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's existence, the last 12 years of his manifest Leela. सखी हे ना बुझिए विधिर विधान सुख लागे कैलो प्रीत होइलो दुख विपरीत एबे जाए ना रहे प्राण. Srimati Radharani continued lamenting about the consequences of loving Krishna. My dear friend, I do not understand the regulative principles given by the Creator. I loved Krishna for happiness, but the result was just the opposite. I am now in an ocean of distress. It must be that now I am going to die, for my vital force no longer remains. This is my state of mind. कुटिल प्रेमा आगे जाना नाहि जाने स्थान स्थान भाल मंद नारे विचारिते क्रूर शठेर गुण दोरे हाथे गले बांधी मोरे राखिया छे नारे नारी उकाशिते. By nature, loving affairs are very crooked. By nature, loving affairs are very crooked. They are not entered with sufficient knowledge, nor do they consider whether a place is suitable or not, nor do they look forward to the results. By the ropes of his good qualities, Krishna, who is so unkind, has bound my neck and hands, and I am unable to get relief. Je madan tanuhina paradrohe paravina pancha sandhe anukshana abalar sharire vindhi koilo jara jare dukha deya na loy jivana. In my loving affairs, there is a person named Madana. His qualities are thus. Personally, he possesses no gross body, yet he is very expert in giving pains to others. He has 5 arrows, and fixing them on his bow, he shoots them into the bodies of innocent women. Thus, these women become invalids. It would be better if he took my life without hesitation, but he does not do so. He simply gives me pain. अन्येर जे दुख मने अन्यताह नाही जाने सत्य ए शास्त्रेर विचारे अन्य जन कहाँ लिखी ना जाने प्राण सखी जाते कहे धैर्य धरि बारे. In the scriptures it is said that one person can never know the unhappiness in the mind of another. Therefore, what can I say of my dear friends Lalita and the others? Nor can they understand the unhappiness within me. They simply try to console me, repeatedly saying, "Dear friend, be patient." Krishna kripa paravara kabhu karibe na angikara sakhi tora e vyartha vachana jiver jivan chanchal Jena Padma Patre Rajal tat din jiva ko na jana. I say, my dear friends, you're asking me to be patient, saying that Krishna is an ocean of mercy and that sometime in the future he will accept me. However, I must say that this will not console me. A living entity's life is very flickering. It is like water on the leaf of a lotus flower. Who will live long enough to expect Krishna's mercy? So basically, these verses in Bengali are the expansion of that verse by Ramananda Rai in the Jagannath Vallabha Natak. So she said, "Oh, this youth only is for 2 or 3 days and finished. When can I? What can I say? What can I do?" She was saying like that, Radharani. So this is all the explanation of that verse. These verses. शतवत्सर पर्यंत जीवेर जीवनांत এই বাক্য কহনা বিচারি নারীর যৌবন ধন যারে কৃষ্ণ করে মানা সেই যৌবন দিন দুই চারি. A human being does not live more than 100 years. You should also consider that the youthfulness of a woman, which is the only attraction for Krishna, remains for only a few days. अग्नि जैछे निज धाम देखाइया अभिराम पतंगीर आकर्षिया मारे कृष्ण ऐछे निज गुण देखाइया हरे माना पाछे दुख समुद्रे ते डारे. If you say that Krishna is an ocean of transcendental qualities and therefore must be merciful someday, I can only say that he is like fire, which attracts moths by its dazzling brightness and kills them. Such are the qualities of Krishna. By showing us his transcendental qualities, he attracts our minds, and then later, by separating from us, he drowns us in an ocean of unhappiness. So all this sounds like, again, Chitra Jalpa, all those insulting words that Radharani used with the Brahmara, the bumblebee. एते कविलाप करी विषादे श्री गौर हरि उघाड़िया दुखेर कपाट भावेर तरंग बोले नाना रूपे मन चले आरो एक श्लोक कोइलो पाठ. In this way, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu lamented in a great ocean of sadness, and thus he opened the doors of his unhappiness. Forced by the waves of ecstasy, his mind wandered over transcendental mellows, and he recited another verse as follows. How many lines is this? श्रीकृष्णरूपादिनिषेवणं विना व्यर्थानि मेहान्यखिलेन्द्रियाण्यलं पाषाणशुष्केन्धनभारकान्यहो बिभर्मिवातानि कथं हतत्रपः. My dear friends, unless I serve the transcendental form, qualities and pastimes of Sri Krishna, all my days and all my senses will become entirely useless. Now I am uselessly bearing the burden of my senses, which are like stone blocks and dried wood. I do not know how long I will be able to continue without shame. Wow, this is actually a very, very good verse. This can be chanted even by me. Because this actually is very nice. It has this, I think, bhava connotation, this mahabhava connotation, but also for us, it's very instructive, right? Unless I serve the transcendental form, qualities, and pastimes of Sri Krishna, all my days and all my senses will become entirely useless. Beautiful, isn't it? Now I'm uselessly bearing the burden of my senses, which are like stone blocks and dried wood. I do not know how long I'll be able to continue without shame. Very nice. Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna Rupadi Nishevanam Vina Vyarthani Mehanyakilendriyanyalam Ahani Ahanyahani Bhutani Vyarthani Me Ahani Akilendriya Akilendriyani Alam Pashana Shushken Bharakanyaho Vibharmivatani Katham Hatatrapah. I should note it down right. वंशीगानामृतधाम लावण्यामृतजन्मस्थान जेना देखे से चांदवदन जेना देखे से चांदवदन से नयने की बाकाज पड़ुक तार मुंडे वाज से नयन रहे की कारण. Of what use are the eyes of one who does not see the face of Krishna, which resembles the moon and is the birthplace of all beauty and the reservoir of the nectarian songs of his flute? Oh, let a thunderbolt strike his head. Why does he keep such eyes? Beautiful. Purport: the moonlike face of Krishna is a reservoir of nectarian songs and the abode of his flute. It is also the root of all bodily beauty. The gopis think that if their eyes are not engaged in seeing the beautiful face of Krishna, it would be better for them to be struck by a thunderbolt. For the gopis, to see anything but Krishna is uninteresting and indeed detestable. The gopis are never pleased to see anything but Krishna. The only solace for their eyes is the beautiful moonlike face of Krishna, the worshipful object of all senses. When they cannot see the beautiful face of Krishna, they actually see everything as vacant and they desire to be struck by a thunderbolt. They do not find any reason to maintain their eyes when they are bereft of the beauty of Krishna. सखी हे सुनो मोर हत विधि बल मोर वपु चित्त मन सकल इंद्रिय गण कृष्ण विनु सकल विफल. My dear friends, please hear me. I have lost all providential strength. Without Krishna, my body, consciousness, and mind, as well as all my senses, are useless. So these verses again are the expansion of, or the explanation of, that Sanskrit verse which we just read from Jagannath Vallabh Natak. That we just saw was very nice, even at our stage. But in the Bhava stage, Mahabhava stage, they of course have deeper meanings. So these verses are actually expanding upon that meaning of that verse. कृष्णेर मधुरवाणी अमृतेर तरंगिणी तार प्रवेश नाही जे श्रवणे कानकडे छिद्र सामा जानी हो से श्रवण तार जन्म होइलो अकारणे. Topics about Krishna are like waves of nectar. If such nectar does not enter one's ear, the ear is no better than the hole of a damaged conch shell. Such an ear is created for no purpose. So, of course, Bhagavatam also has these verses in the second canto, third chapter, and in the 10th canto, 80th chapter, third and fourth verse, and also in Mukundamala Stotra. Same, I mean, the senses are useless if they are not in Krishna's service. Purport. In this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur quotes the following verses from Srimad Bhagavatam. Yes, there we go. There we go. Second canto, third chapter. आयुर्हरति वैपुंसाम् उद्यन्नस्तं चयन्नसौ तस्यर्थे यत्क्षणो नीत उत्तमश्लोकवार्तया तरवः किं न जीवन्ति भस्त्राः किं न श्वसन्त्युत न खादन्ति न मेहन्ति किं ग्रामे पशवोपरे श्वविड्वराहोष्ट्रखरैः संस्तुतः पुरुषः पशुः न यत्कर्णपथोपेतो जातु नाम गदाग्रजः बिलेबतोरुक्रमविक्रमान्ये न शृण्वतः कर्णपुटे नरस्य जिह्वासति दार्दुरिकेव सूत न चोपगायत्युरुगाय गाथाः भार परं पट्टकिरीटजुष्टम् अप्युत्तमाङ्गं ननमेन्मुकुन्दं शावौ करौ नो कुरुते सपर्यां हरेर्लसत्काञ्चन कङ्कणौ वा जीवञ्छवो भागवताङ्घ्रिरेणुं न जातुमर्त्योऽभिलभेत यस्तु श्रीविष्णुपद्यामनुजस्तु यस्याः श्वसञ्छवो यस्तु न वेदगन्धम् तदश्मसारं हृदयं बतेदं यद्गृह्यमाणैर्हरिनामधेयैः न विक्रियेताथ यदा विकारो नेत्रे जलं गात्ररुहेषु हर्षः. Both by rising and setting, the sun decreases the duration of life of everyone except one who utilizes the time by discussing topics of the all-good personality of Godhead. Do the trees not live? Do the bellows of the blacksmith not breathe? All around us, do the beasts not eat and discharge semen? Men who are like dogs, hogs, camels, and asses praise those men who never listen to the transcendental pastimes of Lord Sri Krishna, the deliverer from evils. One who has not listened to the messages about the prowess and marvelous acts of the personality of Godhead, and has not sung or chanted loudly the worthy songs about the Lord, should be considered to possess ears like the holes of snakes and a tongue like that of a frog. The upper portion of the body, though crowned with a silk turban, is only a heavy burden if not bowed down before the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who can award mukti, freedom. And the hands, though decorated with glittering bangles, are like those of a dead man if not engaged in the service of the Personality of Godhead, Hari. The eyes which do not look at the symbolic representations of the Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, his forms, names, qualities, etc., are like those printed on the plumes of a peacock, and the legs which do not move to the holy places where the Lord is remembered is considered to be like tree trunks. The person who has not at any time received upon his head the dust from the feet of a pure devotee of the Lord is certainly a dead body, and the person who has never experienced the fragrance of the tulsi leaves from the lotus feet of the Lord is also a dead body, although breathing. Certainly that heart is steel-framed, which in spite of one's chanting the holy name of the Lord with concentration does not change and feel ecstasy, and at which time tears fill the eyes and the hairs stand on end. It's beautifully composed, and the purports are also very nice. You go home and go home. You're already at home, I think. You can read it as your homework. Very, very important verses. Krishnera adharamrita Krishna guna charita Sudha saraswada vinindana Taraswada jena jane Janmiyana moile kene Sherasana bheka jihvasama. The nectar from the lips of Lord Krishna and his transcendental qualities and characteristics surpass the taste of the essence of all nectar. And there is no fault in tasting such nectar. This also means Krishna's words, the nectar from the lips of Lord Krishna. Of course, they are talking about in the conjugal way in the form of kissing him, but also, the nectar from the lips of Lord Krishna is Krishna Katha when Krishna speaks, and the words of Bhagavad Gita and Krishna Katha, which is Bhagavatam, is non-different from Krishna. So that is also nectar. The nectar from the lips of Lord Krishna and his transcendental qualities and characteristics surpass the taste of the essence of all nectar, and there is no fault in tasting such nectar. If one does not taste it, he should die immediately after birth. and his tongue is to be considered no better than the tongue of a frog. In other words, just as of course, in the matter of kissing, this one in the conjugal way. But if one does not taste the nectar, which is Krishna Kathamrita, then one should die immediately after birth. Strong word. Wow, what is the word for that? तार स्वाद निजे न जाने जन्मिया ना मोइलो केने. Yeah, one who did not taste the Krishna nectar from Krishna's lips, why did he not die after taking birth? Wow. तार स्वाद जे न जाने जन्मिया ना मोइलो केने. Very nice. Beautiful. मृगमदनिलोत्पल मिलने मिलने जे परिमल जय हरे तार गर्वमान हेन कृष्ण अंग गंध जार नाही से संबंध से नासा भस्त्रार समान. Again, all this is actually Bangalized version, Banglaized version of those Bhagavad verses. One's nostrils are no better than the bellows of a blacksmith. Um, okay, let me just note down the previous words for some reason. Sorry about that. One's nostrils are no better than the bellows of a blacksmith if one has not smelled the fragrance of Krishna's body, which is like the aroma of musk combined with that of the bluish lotus flower. Indeed, such combinations are actually defeated by the aroma of Krishna's body. Krishna Karapadatala Koti Chandra Sushitala Tarasparsha Jena Sparshamani Tarasparsha Nahi Jara Sheyog Sheyog Chara Khara Shevapu Lauha Samajani Tarasparsha Nahi Jara Sheyog Chara Khara Shevapu Lauha Samajani. The palms of Krishna's hands and the soles of his feet are so cool and pleasant that they can be compared only to the light of millions of moons. One who has touched such hands and feet has indeed tasted the effects of touchstone. If one has not touched them, his life is spoiled and his body is like iron. Kariyeta vilapana Prabhu Sachinandana Ughadiya hridayer shoka Dainya nirveda vishade हृदयेर अवसादे पुनरपि पढ़े एक श्लोक. Lamenting in this way, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu opened the doors of grief within his heart. Morose, humble and disappointed, he recited a verse again and again with a despondent heart. Purport. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, the word dainya, humility, is explained as follows. When unhappiness, fearfulness and the sense of having offended combine, one feels condemned. This sense of condemnation is described as dīnata, humility. When one is subjected to such humility, he feels physically inactive, he apologizes, and his consciousness is disturbed. His mind is also restless, and many other symptoms are visible. The word nirveda is also explained in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. One may feel unhappiness in separation as well as jealousy and lamentation due to not discharging one's duties. The despondency that results is called nirveda. When one is captured by this despondency, thoughts, tears, loss of bodily luster, humility, and heavy breathing result. Vishada is also explained in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. When one fails to achieve his desired goal of life and repents for all his offenses, there is a state of regret called Vishada. The symptoms of Avasada are also explained. One hankers to revive his original condition and inquires how to do so. These are also deep thought, there are also deep thought, heavy breathing, crying, and lamentation, as well as a changing of the bodily color and drying up the tongue. In the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, 33 such destructive symptoms are mentioned. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur's and Narottam Das Thakur's songs also have flavor of these specific stages that are defined here in this purport. Deenata and what is that? Vishada, Avasada. If you can actually remember a few songs, if you, for those who know, some of the songs have these flavors of symptoms. Many songs actually. So in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, 33 such destructive symptoms are mentioned. They are expressed in words, in the eyebrows, and in the eyes. These symptoms are called Vyabhichari Bhava, destructive ecstasy. If they continue, they are sometimes called Sanchari or continued ecstasy. Yada yato daivan madhuripurasau lochanapatham tadasmakam cheto madanahatakena पुनर्यस्मिन्नेषा क्षणमपि दृशोरेति पदवीं विधास्यामस्तस्मिन् अखिलघटिकारत्नखचिताः. If by chance the transcendental form of Krishna comes before my path of vision, my heart, injured from being beaten, will be stolen away by Cupid, happiness personified. Because I could not see the beautiful form of Krishna to my heart's content, when I again see his form, I shall decorate the phases of time with many jewels. I shall decorate the phases of time. What? Past, present, future with many jewels. Akhila Ghatika Ratna Khachita. Wow. Decorating the phases of time with jewels. Whatever she meant, the only thing that I can understand in my level is that our time spent in Krishna consciousness is actually the decoration of our time. Because Ayur Harati Vaipumsam Udyanastan Chayanna. So Tasyarte Yat Kshanonita Uttama Shloka Vartaya, that verse 2-3-17, that our lifetime will be glorified if we use it in seeing Krishna through actually Shravana Kirtan. This verse is spoken by Srimati Radharani in the Jagannath Vallabha Nataka 3:11 of Ramananda Rai. Now, of course, they have very high meanings in the conjugal aspect of these meanings, which actually is the real meaning, but also, again, it is instructive even for us. Decorating the phases of time with many jewels, past, present, and future. যে কালে বা স্বপ্নে দেখিনু বংশী বদনে, সেই কালে আইলা দুই বাইরি। আনন্দ আর মদন হরি নীল মোর মন, দেখিতে না দেখিতে না পাইনু নেত্র ভরে। Whenever I had the chance to see Lord Krishna's face and his flute, even in a dream, two enemies would appear before me. They were pleasure and Cupid. And since they took away my mind, I was not able to see the face of Krishna to the full satisfaction of my eyes. पुनः यदि पुनः यदि कोन क्षण कराय कृष्ण दर्शन, तबे से घटी क्षण पल दिया माल्य चंदन नाना रत्न आभरण अलंकृत करिमु सकल. If by chance such a moment comes when I can once again see Krishna, then I shall worship those seconds, moments, and hours with flower garlands and pulp of sandalwood, and decorate them with all kinds of jewels and ornaments. How can even somebody think like that? Decorate seconds, moments, and hours with flower garlands and pulp of sandalwood, and decorate them with all kinds of jewels and ornaments. Shana Shane Bahya क्षणे बाह्य হইল মন আগে দেখে দুইজন তারে পুছে আমি না চৈতন্য স্বপ্ন প্রায় কি দেখিনু কিবা আমি প্রলাপিনু তোমার কিছু শুনিয়াছ দৈন্য. In an instant, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu regained external consciousness and saw two persons before him. Questioning them, he asked, "Am I conscious? What dreams have I been seeing? What craziness have I spoken? Have you heard some expressions of humility?" Purport. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu thus spoke in ecstasy, he saw two persons before him. One was his secretary, Swarup Damodar, and the other was Rai Ramanand. Coming to his external consciousness, he saw them both present, and although he was still talking in the ecstasy of Srimati Radharani, he immediately began to question whether he was the same Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. শুনো মোর প্রাণের বান্ধব, নাহি কৃষ্ণ প্রেম ধন, দরিদ্র মোর জীবন, দেহেন্দ্রিয় বৃথা মোর সব. This is also nice. 38. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu continued, "My dear friends, you are all my life and soul, therefore I tell you that I possess no wealth of love for Krishna. Consequently, my life is poverty stricken, my limbs and senses are useless." So, this is how a devotee should think. Of course, this is extreme humility, but this is how we are taught to think. Oh, it's 10 o'clock. I did not even know. Wow. Okay. Should we stop here? Where are we? Like, okay. I think we will stop at 40. Yeah, we will stop it here. 40. So we will continue in the next session. So see if there are any questions or comments. That's why it is said almost completely in 1 to 18, 7,000. If we are completely purified, it would be impossible to exist in the material world. No, Prabhupada explained actually. It is said almost completely because until the dawn of Prema, Krishna Prema, uh, complete purification does not happen. So Bhagavatam will give us the thing all the way until there. And then when once we achieve prema, then that's when completely it's gone. So that's the reason. So even if one does not have prema, if one is reading Bhagavatam, he's almost completely purified. Completely almost. And by doing it regularly, then he will come to the prema stage of Krishna prema. And that's when he will be completely pure. But even without that prema, even when has not achieved that prema, he will still be almost completely purified if he just reads the Bhagavatam and always is absorbed in the thoughts and words and teachings of Bhagavatam. Absorbed means not just thinking, sitting in one place. Active, serving Bhagavatam, teaching others about Bhagavatam, distributing Srimad Bhagavatam, you know, uh, and living according to the principles of Bhagavatam. So that is the absorption. Absorption does not mean just thinking in sitting in one room and thinking about Krishna's pastimes, Krishna's this, and just this mental rumination. Not just that, physical action and full realization and experience of that Bhagavatam life. When one does that, which is actually which easily can be done in a temple in the association of devotees, proper devotees. Okay, so I'll stop it here. जय श्री चैतन्य चरितामृत की जय, श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु की जय, कृष्णदास कविराज गोस्वामी की जय, श्री प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय, निताय गौर प्रेमानंद, हरे 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 कृष्ण. Thank you very much.